Good morning, students. Students, in the last video class, I had given you a detailed explanation of the first stanza. Let me just recapitulate it once so that you can understand what we had read in that last stanza. Children, stanza 1, it describes the impoverished and miserable plight of the children in that elementary classroom. Impoverished, devoid of their rights, their opportunities. Okay, so impoverished and miserable plight condition of children in that elementary classroom. Now we had read the children, they lack radiance or enthusiasm on their faces, and that they are far removed from the beauty of nature and from that beauty and that innocence that children should rightfully reflect. This is what we had read, children. They had been compared to rootless weeds. See, it's written over here like rootless weeds. I have already explained the whole poem, children. I am only and only analyzing it. So be very, very attentive and write down the poetic devices. So, like rootless weeds, it is a simile, children. Now, weeds are unwanted or the wild growth of plants. What do? We pull them out Why? Because they are of no use. So they have been compared to those rootless weeds, and because we have used like, it's a simile. Children, the unkempt and untidy ruffled hair of the slum children are strewn across their faces, and this is symbolic. The slum children are as unwanted in the society as the rootless weeds. So, here, children, it has a symbolic significance. Be very, very careful. Now, we talked about the impoverished children, we talked about the miserable plight of the children, we read about the tall girl. Now, the tall girl in the class is physically and emotionally exhausted, okay, due to an oppressive family. It could be that her family is oppressive and she is burdened with responsibilities. So she sits as if all life is dredged out from her. Okay. Now, the paper seeming boy. We also read about the paper seeming boy who is thin, who is undernourished, and he looks weak and emaciated. Another word for thin and undernourished children, emaciated. Thin and punny. He has rat size. Children, rat size is a metaphor over here. He has been compared to a rat. His habits have been compared to a rat. Just like a scavenger rat, he seems to be on the lookout for food. Like a rat, he is on the defensive and terrified. He is defensive, he is terrified. So, this is the metaphor which conveys the anxiety and nervousness of the boy. Please write it down, children. Here, like a rat, he is on the defensive and terrified. And it's a metaphor which conveys the anxiety and nervousness of the boy. So, this is the metaphor of the rat used here in order to describe the boy. Okay, the stunted heir, the unlucky heir, the stunted boy. Now, instead of inheriting a fortune or wealth, this boy is unfortunate to have inherited his father's disease of twisted bones, now gnarled. He is physically challenged and replicates his father's disease, children. All this I have already explained to you, children, already explained. Okay, now there are a few more points that I would like to say, children. There is Symbolism also, children, there is symbolism contained. Just like paralysis is hereditary, mental shackles and poverty are also inherited by these slum children. Okay, so this disease of the twisted bone is like a paralysis, and it is hereditary. It has been passed on from the father to the son. In the same way, the mental shackles and poverty are also inherited by the slum children. Again, you can go back to that chapter, Lost Spring, in which the bangle selling business was passed on from the grandfather to the father, and from the father to the son. So they could not think beyond. They were all trapped in that vicious circle. Okay, so in that same way, it's been said over here that it's symbolic that like paralysis, even the mental shackles and poverty are inherited by these slum children. And he also sits there reciting his lesson from his desk. Children, dim class, I told you, the dull and the depressing, ill-maintained classroom. Okay. Now, we also read about one unnoted, sweet young boy who was sitting at the back of the classroom. Okay, he was a backbencher. Now, there is a boy who sits dreaming. I told you that how it is different. So that boy, he is a backbencher and he is sitting at the back and he is dreaming. He is different from the rest. It is a symbol of hope, of change and liberation. Very, very important. He is different from the rest because he is a symbol of hope, of change and liberation. He dreams of a squirrel's game, children, in the tree room. A place of fun, a place of mystery, a place of joy and curiosity. Okay? So all these points are important and I have explained it to you. These are some additional points that I am giving you while analyzing the first stanza. Now the boy is physically in class, but mentally he is in his own world of dreams and imagination. So this is in contrast to the other children who are sitting in the classroom. Other than this, see, pay attention to this line now, other than this, outside this oppressive class. So this over here is the oppressive class. So other than this means outside this oppressive classroom. Now children, there is also irony contained in it. See, although this fourth student, he dreams of the squirrel's game, it is ironical that his dream is restricted to the hollow tree room of the tree. See children, tree rooms are built in the hollow of the tree. Okay, the tree rooms, they are built in the hollow of the tree. Hollow means, what do you mean by hollow? A void is there. Okay, nothing fills it. Okay, so it is ironical because like that hollow of the tree, even this boy's dream is hollow. It cannot be realized. It is far away from reality. It is removed from reality. That means whatever he is dreaming, he can never achieve it. Again, you can relate it to that chapter, Lost Spring. Okay. So, we are done with the first stanza, children. Let us move on to the second stanza now. On sour classroom walls, donations, Shakespeare's head. Cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities. Now, what does the poet say, children? That on sour cream walls, children, like when the cream becomes sour, what happens to it? It becomes distasteful, right? We don't find it tasty anymore. So in that same way, the walls were creamy in color and very ill maintained. They were not well maintained and they were distasteful. On sour cream walls, donations. Now, because of the donations, maybe the color, the whitewash must have been done, and it was a very creamish colored wall, which gave, which appeared to be very out of place. It was ill maintained, it was out of place, very dull, very depressing. Okay. Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn. Now, due to the donations, children, there were some pictures also. Because of the donations, there were some uh, portraits, some pictures that were hanging on that sour cream walls. So, in the second stanza, the poet is beginning by talking about the donations that are hung on the sour cream walls. The classroom is ill maintained, and the color of the walls is a depressing off white and sour. And sour is also a negative word, children. Okay. Now, this reflects not only the utter state of neglect that the classroom has fallen into, but also the decay, the dullness, and bitterness in the lives of the slum children. Now, this is very, very important, children. Please write it down. This on sour cream walls, children, this line is again symbolic. And how is it symbolic? What does it symbolize, or what does it stand for? It reflects not only the utter state of neglect that the classroom has fallen into, but it is also symbolizing decay, bitterness, and something that is not lustrous but dull. Okay, gloomy. Another word could be gloomy. Okay. They belong to the underprivileged class. You can write down this line also, children, that they belong to the underprivileged class. The classroom has been built up through the donations given by the capitalists. See here, children, I am talking about the capitalists, the rich and the powerful in the society. Okay. What do you understand by capitalists? What do you understand by socialist? These I have explained in the first video lesson. So, please go and watch it. Okay. So, the classroom has been built by the donations that have been received from the capitalists. This upper class children, it holds the children in socially and economically backward circumstances. Okay, the upper class, they hold these children in socially and economically backward circumstances, and at the same time also show them a scenic glimpse of another beautiful world that exists outside their world of slums. Okay, I have even read out the next line over here, children. See, it's written over here, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn. Are you seeing these sentences are not complete? They are phrases, children. Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome, riding all cities. These phrases are in total contrast to the sour cream walls, to the classroom where these students are confined. Okay, so these phrases, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome, okay, riding all cities. Now, these are in total contrast to the dull and depressing environment inside the classroom. Now, what does it signify? It signifies that these children are socially and economically backward, and they are doomed in such circumstances. Okay. Now, these phrases that I read out, civilized dome, riding all cities, cloudless at dawn, Children, these are scenic glimpses of another beautiful world. So, these are glimpses, scenic beauty, glimpses of a world that has much hope in it, that is beautiful, and that tempts us. Okay? It is a world that exists outside the world of slums. This outside world is a total contrast to their own lackluster world. Please write down this word, lackluster world. LACKLUSTRE. Okay, lackluster world means what? Dull, which does not have any shine in it. So it's a lackluster world. Now, this world, children, it constitutes, now this beautiful and promising world, what does it comprise of? It constitutes of the Shakespeare's head. It comprises of cloudless skies. Children, when I say cloudless skies, that means a clear sky. Clear sky means what? Sun shining brightly, isn't it? And when the sun is shining brightly, when there are no clouds, what does it mean? That it is a bright day, a new day with new hopes and new aspirations, right? So, something that is very clear, the future is very clear. This is what is symbolized by cloudless at dawn. Okay, that it's a clear sky, it is a bright and sunny day, and hence it gives us hope. It gives us a future that will be bright. Okay, so cloudless skies, these grand buildings, open-handed world maps also. There's another word, children, belled flowery Triolis Valley. Children, Triolis Valley is a beautiful valley with, it's a musical valley with flowers, with beautiful flowers. So this is Triolis Valley. Riding all cities. Riding all cities means what? The high buildings, the high rising buildings, children. The belled flowery Triolis Valley. So it is describing that musical valley where there are belled flowers with a sweet fragrance. Okay. Then open-handed map, awarding the world its world. Open-handed maps, children, very, very important. What do you mean by open-handed maps, children? Open-handed maps over here means the maps that have been carved out according to the whims and fancies of the upper class people. Okay, now try to understand it, children. They do not recognize it as their own. Now this world that has been talked about, this beautiful world outside the slum, it is a world that these slum children cannot relate to. It is beyond their means. They cannot reach it. They cannot, and hence they are unable to realize it because they are not able to relate to it. So they cannot consider it as their own. They have a limited and contracted view of the world through the windows of their classroom. So they don't have a very broad criteria of their world. So their world is confined to that classroom. Okay. In other words, their future is black and obscure. This is very, very important, children. They cannot look beyond, they cannot think beyond, they cannot, dream of these beautiful places. It is just a kind of a different world altogether, which they will never be able to realize. So in other words, their future is black, it is obscure. Obscure means unclear. In place of the open, beautiful places and valleys shown to them in the poster pictures in their classroom, in reality are restricted by narrow streets. Yes, children, instead of they should be shown something with which they are able to relate themselves. They will take interest in studies only when they will find it useful, isn't it? But they are unable to relate themselves to anything. For them, this world, this classroom in the slum is their true world. So children, I have done till the Triolis Valley, belled flowery Triolis Valley. Now in the next video lesson, children, I shall begin from open-handed map awarding the world its world. Now this is also very easy. It means that children, these maps that have been carved out, of course, it has been carved out keeping in mind the rich and the powerful existing in the society. So the rich and the powerful, they are awarding these slum children their own world, their own definition of a map. In that map, these slum dwellers are nowhere to be found. There is no placement for them. So do you think they will be able to understand that map? No, they won't be able to. So it's an open-handed map which can be twisted and turned anytime according to the selfish means of the rich and the powerful in the society. Hence, it is an open-ended handed map made according to the whims and fancies of the upper class people. Okay children, I will continue with the rest of the poem in the next video lesson. Now this poem is a little conceptual children, so you have to be regular with my lessons and you also have to take down the notes. I will be sending you detailed notes, but if you follow these video lectures and if you attend the live classes, you will not have to refer or take help from any outside source children. Any extra material not required. No support material required. Nothing. No guide. Just be attentive and be regular. You will be able to understand this poem. Okay children. Thank you. Thank you.